How about Psalm 45? Hebrews 1 quotes it, your throne, O God, is forever and ever. You can't call the earthly king God. Well, actually your argument's not with me, it's with Psalm 45. Because this earthly king is referred to as Elohim. He's anointed by Elohim, but he is called Elohim. Now here's what's so interesting. Psalm 45 is a wedding psalm. The great exalted Davidic king is going to be married. Seems to be the best understanding of the text there. And he's spoken of in these exalted and glorious terms, and how his arrows are piercing the hearts of his enemies. And then it says this. He's addressed as the king at the end of verse 6 in Hebrew, 7 in English. Kisecha Elohim olam va'ed, your throne, O God, is forever and ever. Shevet Mishur, Shevet Malchutecha, a scepter of uprightness is the scepter of your kingdom. Ahavtet Tzedek, v'tisna Resha. You've loved righteousness and hated iniquity. Al Kain, Mishachacha Elohim Elohecha, Shemen Sason Mechavarecha. That's why God, your God, has anointed you with the oil of joy more than your companions. So he's called Elohim, but he's anointed by Elohim, his Elohim. You say, well, how do rabbinic translations understand it? Well, some would say Kisach Elohim means your divine throne, your throne given by God. The problem is that the most logical and natural meaning is your throne, O God, is forever and ever. When I was in college, in one of my early Hebrew classes, my Hebrew teacher in modern Hebrew was an Israeli Jew, Sephardic Jew, and he was also a rabbi. And I just asked him, could he just translate those words? I opened the psalm for him, Kisach Elohim, Olam va'ed, your throne, O God, is forever and ever. I said, could you just translate that for me? And he read it, he goes, yes, 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 praises to the Almighty. I said, but look at the context, it's speaking about the earthly king. Remember, he got red in the face. How could that be? How could that be? Some would try to translate God as your throne. What exactly does that mean? No, the most natural understanding is that it calls the king Elohim. Now, here's what we do know. We know that Elohim could be spoken of the one true God. That's the most common way it's used. God, the God. God with a capital G. Elohim. Elohim could mean gods with a small g, false gods, right? Elohim could mean, in a few passages, angels, so the divine beings. And then perhaps in Exodus, Elohim means judges, earthly authorities who are the highest power. Elohim. There's some dispute over that, but that's the most natural meaning there. So is it possible to call an earthly king Elohim? Yes, but it would be exceptional. It would be unusual. It would be the only time, along with Isaiah 9, where some of the names for the king include this, El Gibor, mighty God. So it's not impossible, it's exceptional. The fact that it speaks of Elohim immediately after, God, your God has anointed you, it is distinguishing God, capital G, from Elohim, this king. But we have a solution for this. The earthly king, the Davidic king, was a prototype of the Messiah. And great and glorious and exalted things were spoken of him, even beyond who he was. It's a word panegyric, it's court praise. Oh, great king. Maybe you got some 8-year-old cross-eyed kid, but he's just become the king when his father died. And everyone bows before him. Oh, great, majestic, powerful king. He's just a kid, but court praise, panegyric. Well, the psalmist was not a liar. The prophets were not liars. They spoke what God gave them to speak, but they spoke about this king in the most high and exalted terms, even beyond who he was and what he was, ultimately painting a picture that is fulfilled in the Messiah. These words about the earthly king ultimately find their fullness of meaning speaking about the Messianic king. So to speak of an earthly king as Elohim, divine one, would be stretching right to the limit of what you could say about that earthly king in Hebrew. However, when referring to the Messiah, they make perfect sense. So this takes things to the limit of what could be spoken about an earthly king in ancient Israel exalted to the highest level. And yet when spoken of the Messiah, now we don't even have to struggle with that. We recognize, oh, so this Davidic king is ultimately, in a very unique sense, God. Well, remaining separate from God and anointed by God, in another sense, yes, God. And that's how it's applied in Hebrews, the first chapter. So Psalm 45, verse 6, 7, does say that the Messiah is divine.